Please welcome back Frank Luntz, and welcome to Iowa and to the 2015 Family Leadership Summit, businessman and entrepreneur Donald Trump.
You'll be over in the chair. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Look at that. Do you want me to ask? Come on over. Right there. Hello. That was a very good reception. We always begin with an audience question for each candidate. So I want to ask you, how many of you, by show of hands, believe that the vast majority of politicians in Washington, vast majority, play by their own set of rules and don't tell the truth? Raise your hands. Does anyone trust anyone in Washington? Second question, this is appropriate to you. What's more important in the next president? Political experience or business experience? Who says political?
Both.
Raise your hands.
Both.
Who says business experience? Raise your hands.
I think both.
So I need to ask you, the most important attribute of a successful workforce is their education and training. There's a major issue out there, and I know how focused you are on getting the best employees. Common Core has been very controversial. The president's had to step back on it. What should the next president do with Common Core and with education so that you can hire the employees you want to hire?
Great question. Common Core has to be ended. It's a disaster. It's a way of... It's a way of taking care of people in Washington that, frankly, I don't even think they give a damn about education, half of them. And I'm sure some maybe do.
Do you really want to use that word in this form?
I will. Because people want to hear the truth, Frank. I watch you all the time. They want to hear the truth. I mean, exactly what Frank said is what's wrong with correct that we can't move anymore. You know? And Frank, we have
politically correct.
We have to be able to express ourselves.
But don't we go too far?
Too far?
Don't you feel that you went too far in what you called Mexicans coming across the border?
Oh, no, not at all. No, I'm very happy.
You don't think so?
Well, let me tell you, not at all. No, not at all. Two things. So proud of the fact that I got dialogue started on illegal immigration. And people in the media, in all fairness, they were very rough on me that first week, and then many of them have now apologized to me, and almost everybody's apologized, because it turned out I was right. Beautiful Kate in San Francisco was shot by an illegal who was here 5 times, and they couldn't do anything about it, and believe me, Mexico kept pushing them back because they didn't want them. Believe me, that's true. And now everybody is saying that Trump was right. But I tell you, I took a lot of abuse. I had disloyal people like Macy's and like others. Oh, Donald, you're a little controversial. We're going to have to drop you. We're going to have... I said, I don't care. The ties, what do they mean to me? He's wearing one of my ties, by the way. It's very nice. It's good. I never liked them that much because they were made in China, so it never mattered that much to me.
But, you know, it's a great applause line, and obviously they appreciate it. But referring to people as rapists...
Excuse me.
Referring to John McCain, a war hero, 5.5 years as a POW, and you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president?
Okay, you got to let me speak, though, Frank, because you interrupt all the time, okay? So, no, I know him too well. That's the problem. Let's take John McCain. I'm in Phoenix. We have a meeting that is going to have 500 people at the Biltmore Hotel. We get a call from the hotel. It's turmoil. Thousands and thousands of people are showing up. 3-4 days before, they're pitching tents on the hotel grass. The hotel says, we can't handle it. It's going to destroy the hotel. We move it to the convention center. We have 15,000 people. John, the biggest one ever, bigger than Bernie Sanders, bigger than 15,000 people showed up to hear me speak, bigger than anybody, and everybody knows it. A beautiful day with incredible people that were wonderful, great Americans, I will tell you. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up, crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, you know, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people. So what I said is, John McCain, I disagree with him that these people aren't crazy. And, very importantly, and I speak the truth, he graduated last in his class at Annapolis. So I said, nobody knows that. I said he graduated last or second to last. He graduated last in his class at Annapolis. And he was upset. I said, why, for telling the truth? See, you're not supposed to say that somebody graduated last or second to last in their class, because you're supposed to be, like Frank says, very nice. Folks, I want to make America great again. We want to get down to brass tacks. We don't want to listen to his stuff with being politically correct and everything has to. We have a lot of work to do. Frank, the other day Hillary Clinton got up and she said, I didn't like Mr. Trump's tone. We have people, Christians, having their heads cut off in the Middle East. We have people dying all over the border, where I was right, 100% right. We have all of this, like medieval times, and she said, I didn't like his tone. And you know who else said that? Jeb Bush. I didn't like his tone. What does it have to do with tone? We want results. This group wants results. We don't want tone.
So we've got people lined up for questions. I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian. And I go to church and I love God and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale, was my pastor. The Power of Positive Thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman. He would give a sermon you never wanted to leave. Sometimes we have sermons, and every once in a while we think about leaving a little early, right, even though we're Christian. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Frank, would give a sermon. I'm telling you, I still remember his sermons. It was unbelievable. And what he would do is he'd bring real-life situations, modern-day situations, into the sermon. And you could listen to him all day long. When you left the church, you were disappointed that it was over. He was the greatest guy. And then, you know, he passed away, but he was a great. He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a great book.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. Now, when I take, when we go in church and when I drink my little wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible because I feel cleansed, okay? But, to me, that's important. I do that. But in terms of officially, I could say absolutely, and everybody. I don't think in terms of that. I think in terms of let's go on and let's make it right.
So let's... Microphone one, please.
What's that? Mr. Trump.
Yes, sir.
Respectfully, we remember the 1992 election. Ross Perot cost us that election.
Right.
Would you go on record today as saying that if you can't get the Republican nomination, you will not run as a third-party candidate?
No. 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 I won't go on record as saying that. Look.
Why not?
I want this country. This country has great potential, but soon it's not going to have that potential because we're being drained by incompetent leaders, by horrible people. As an example, with the Iran deal, which is a total disaster, we didn't get our 4 hostages back. That's just one aspect of it. And just this morning, and yesterday, Kerry, Secretary Kerry, who's the worst negotiator. I mean, he didn't read the art of the deal, folks. So Secretary Kerry said very strongly, he said very strongly, we didn't want to bring up the hostages. We didn't want to complicate our deal. That was the reason. We didn't want to what is it? He said, we want our hostages back. How is that complicating a deal, right? We gave him money. We didn't. So he didn't want to talk about the money. He didn't want to talk about the hostages. It was just announced that Iran got one of their leading nuclear scientists back as part of the deal. Just came out this morning. So Iran, in addition to making an unbelievable deal that's going to make them one of the great powers, perhaps more powerful than the United States, because today it's about the weapons, not about the number of soldiers you have. They're going to be immensely well. We're giving them billions and billions of dollars that we shouldn't be giving them. We didn't get our hostages back, which is terrible, because they didn't want to complicate. We didn't want to complicate the negotiation. And when Obama was asked about that question the other day by Major, he was asked a very simple question, the anger in his face at being asked that question. And he said, we didn't want to complicate them. How is it complicated? Except for one problem. Iran just got their big scientists back, and we just found out about it this morning. I think we are run by a group of incompetent people, and they're destroying our country. And Frank, could I say one other thing? And just one other thing. Nobody deals with politicians more than I did. I've contributed to everybody. They did whatever I said. Everybody. I contributed to Hillary Clinton. I contributed to Bill. I contributed to everybody. And you know what? I was a businessman. Why wouldn't I? I don't have to agree with them. I know this, like with my wedding. I said, Hillary, Bill, be at my wedding. They were at my wedding. It was very nice. Okay? Because I contribute. Wait, Frank, it's important.
I want to know which wedding.
My last wedding, the last one. But you have to do, as a businessman, you have other things, and you have other things to do. So I'm very proud of a record. No politician, in my opinion, I know them all, I watch them. They talk about the moon and the sun will rise, the moon will set. I watch them. People want jobs. No politician is going to get this country back. I'm sort of a politician because I've been dealing with politicians all my life. If you can't win and make a lot of money with politicians, you're not very good. Believe me, I've been dealing with them all my life, and I don't think anybody's dealt with them any better. I know them, and I know it from the other side. All of the people, like when you see Bush has $100 million, and you see Hillary has $50 million that they just announced, those people are controlled by those people that gave them money. They're lobbyists, they're special interests, and they're donors. And I will tell you that they are totally controlled. And when Bush has to make a decision, and can you imagine this guy negotiating against China? We have no chance, okay? Who would you rather have negotiating against China, Trump or Bush? You tell me, okay?
Wait, I gotta, again, this is a summit as opposed to a specific political effort. You can afford the lawyers against the IRS. I cannot.
I know.
But, question for microphone 2, please.
You talked about your faith earlier, and I was wondering how your faith and your family growing up has influenced how you raise your children.
It's really had a big influence. I have 5 wonderful children, and I knock on wood, I hope that's wood, but I get maybe almost more than any question, I get questions similar to that because my children have done well. You know Ivanka, she was a great girl. She's a great person. But Ivanka and Don and Eric and, you know, my kids have my 3 oldest children have done well. They've gone into business and they're solid and, you know, they haven't been in trouble and all things. And more than any other question I get from people is, how did you raise your kids? Because, you know, you read so many horror stories about children. And one of them was through the church. very important. We have a church where I grew up, First Presbyterian Church in Queens, in Jamaica, Queens. And that was where I grew up, and that's where I did, went to church. I'd go to Sunday school, I'd go to Bible class, I did all the things that a lot of the folks in this room did. But it was a very important element. Church was a very important element as far as growing the kids. And the other important element was I would, from the time they're 2 years old, say, no drugs, no alcohol, I used to drive them crazy. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. I'd say, no drugs, no... And Ivanka, I remember her looking at me once, Frank, said, Daddy, you're driving me crazy. Don't. The kid was like 4 years old. She didn't even know what drugs are. But I would constantly, because I've seen so many children grow up and they get under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and their parents are brilliant people, they're successful people, the kid is brilliant, they have no chance. They have no chance. Once they're under the influence of the drugs and the alcohol, life is too tough. They're not going to make it. So I was very strong with my children, no drugs, no alcohol, and I threw in cigarettes.
Did you used to have dinner with your kids most nights?
Yes.
So
I would have dinner with my kids almost always, and I'm always available to my children. I could be in the middle of the biggest, most important deal. For instance, if Ivanka called me right now and say, bye-bye, Frank, you're a wonderful guy. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'd say, wait 10 minutes. But I was always available to my children. And frankly, I said it. I said, I was actually a great father. I was a better father than I was a husband. And the reason is I was a worker. And I had, you mentioned the relationships, and they were very good women, but I was always working. I was working. I was creating jobs. I was building jobs. I was doing everything, and legitimate stuff. I was working, and it was very hard for a woman, and I blame myself. I don't blame anybody else, but it was a work thing. It wasn't a bad thing. And it was very hard for anybody to compete against the work, and that was not good. I have learned that.
So then what advice do you have? Because very few people, no one in this room will be able to live in your shoes. When you try to prioritize your career or your family, what's the best way to get that right?
It's a great question. The thing that I've learned, I know all of the very successful people in the world. I mean, most of them. I know, they buy apartments from me. I sold an apartment recently for $55 million to a Chinese person. Then they say, I don't like China. I love China. I just don't like the fact that the Chinese leaders are so much smarter than our leaders and they rip us off all over the place. But, by the way, Frank, same with Mexico. Love Mexico, respect Mexico, love the Mexican people. Thousands of them work for me. They're incredible. Great spirit. I just don't like that the Mexican leaders are ripping off our country because they're smarter and more cunning than our leaders and our negotiators. Between the trade and the border, they're killing us. So it's one of those. But
your press conferences would take forever.
No, I'm trying to get out the points, Frank.
So career and family, how do you balance?
I was going to say, I found that the happiest people, let's get down to the happiest people, are the people. I know the richest people in the world. I know the toughest people in the world. I know these people, they're brutal. You wouldn't like them, and they probably wouldn't like you very much. These are brutal people. Great negotiators, great business people, but not nice people. They're not the happiest people. They're very rich. They're very smart. I would use them to negotiate against Japan. I would get one of them being, you're here, you're here, you're here, like checkers, like chess. But I will tell you, they're not the happiest people. The happiest people I see are the people that have great families. It's, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know. And just to take that a step further, and I tell this to people all the time. They say, how do I get rich, Mr. Trump? How do I get rich? And they have a good family. I tell them all the time, and I make this statement because I've seen it. Those people that have that great family, wife, husband, children, whatever it takes, those are the people that in my life I've seen that are the happiest people. A lot of the really successful people they always want more. They could have $2 billion, they want $6 billion. Then they want to get up into the $10 billion. They say, well, but they always want more. They're always striving. And in the end, they're not very happy people. So I don't know, it's a great thing. Religion is a very big factor too. I've seen people that have a great family and they have God and they have church, and they love their church. I have friends that love to go to their church and help their church. They're happy people.
So, again, you've gone into it. If I don't ask this question, this audience will be disappointed. Straight question. What is your relationship with God?
Well, I pray. I go to church. Do I do things that are wrong? I guess so. You know, I'm a business person. I really do well at business. I've done great. I've made some of the great deals. I own some of the greatest properties in the world. Am I totally?
Help you do these great deals?
I think God helped me personally. I think God helped me. I think, you know, look, God helped me by giving me a certain brain, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I went through a phenomenal school, the Wharton School of Finance, which is said to be the greatest business school in the world. I did really well there. I was a great student. So, I mean, I was born with a certain intellect that is good for this. And essentially, Frank, look, when you boil it down, we need a president that's going to be able to make deals, great deals, because we're getting killed. We're losing. Our gross national product went down. Our GDP, if you look at it, gross domestic, went down in the first quarter. It became negative. When China goes up 7 or 8%, I saw the other day China's went up 7%. It was like, in China, they're going crazy. How could it only go up? We had a negative, think of it, we had a negative number. It's unheard of. GDP goes down fairly substantially, and I think it's going to continue to go down. That means we're getting smaller, and yet we have more people, many of which pour across the border, by the way, but we have more people. We need somebody that can take our jobs back from China, Frank. We need somebody that can take our jobs back from Mexico. We need somebody that can take our jobs back, Frank, because we're going to hell. Our country's going to hell. And Frank doesn't like the word hell, but we're going to hell, and we need somebody that's going to be able to bring our jobs back.
So I know part of this responsibility is to be able to understand who these people are, not just about policy. And I want to give you a chance to close with the issues that you want to do, but could you? Leaders are required to set priorities. Is our economic health or our moral health more important for the next president to prioritize?
You can do both, Frank. It doesn't have to be one without the other. It doesn't have to be one without the other. Look, if I'm elected president, I know everybody. They can't create jobs like me. Nobody's going to be close. They can't negotiate with China like I can negotiate and take everything. And by the way, and every single other country in the world, we don't make good deals anymore. If I can make the country strong financially, it's a lot easier for the country morally. I mean, our country, you look at what's going on. We're in serious trouble. Our military is, we've sent weapons over to our so-called allies, and one shot's fired, and we lose 2,300 Humvees armor-plated. I mean, we don't know what we're doing. We truly don't know what we're doing. If I can make our country, I would focus on the military. I'll tell you what, I'd focus on the vets. I love the vets. The vets are treated like fourth-class citizens in this country. And that's part of the morality. These guys went out, these people went out, and they fought for us, and they're great people, the best people, and they're treated so badly. I've been with vets where they say they go to a doctor's office in one of the places, and they'll wait 4 to 5 days before in a reception area, before they even can see a doctor. That's morality too, and that's really bad morality. I think your question is very good, but I think they have to go hand in hand, because our country is a debtor nation. We're in serious trouble, and we've got to make us, I know it sounds a little bit rough, we've got to make our country rich again. We have to make our country great again. We can't let other parts of the world steal our country, steal our jobs, steal our manufacturing. With that being said, the morality of this country with the right president, President Obama, I never thought he'd be a good president, because I didn't think he was qualified. But I thought one thing that he would do, he'd be a great cheerleader for the country. He's been horrible.
Does he love America?
I don't know if he loves America. I hope he loves America. I don't want to get into that. I hope so.
Is he a moral president?
I have no idea. You know what, Frank? You're asking me questions. Ask his wife, okay? I don't want to answer. But But you know what? I was hoping, and I thought, the one thing I thought about him, I saw him speaking in Germany, I saw him speaking, I thought he'd be a good cheerleader for the country. He's been horrible. He's been divisive. He's been horrible. He hasn't even called Kate Steinle's family, who got killed in San. He hasn't called. Now, he calls other people, but he hasn't called the family of Kate Steinle. Why wouldn't he call her? And this was a man that came over, was pushed over from Mexico. 5 different, he shouldn't have been here. An illegal immigrant, killed, and nobody's even called her family, okay? I think morality and I think success go hand in hand. You don't have to have one without the other.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. See, I get a standing ovation. Other people don't.
This way.
Thank you.